beautiful, and thank you for clicking on today's video. Today's video is going to be a little bit more casual, and actually I'm going to be painting my nails while talking to you so we can talk kind of just like friends at a sleepover. But I wanted to talk about something that I think a lot of us struggle with in regards to decluttering, and that is just in case items. In fact, when I first started doing kind of declutter after declutter after declutter and doing the whole minimalism thing, the topic of just in case really creeped into my head more often than not. And the thing is that just in case items, the reason that we all tend to like fantasize about all these different scenarios that we might need an item for, it's actually because we're very, very smart. For a very long part of human history, in fact, I would say most of human history, it was advantageous for us to keep things that we needed or resources in general for just in case, because the future was unpredictable. So it's technically, like evolutionarily, a very responsible way to look at things. However, in today's day and age with like planned obsolescence among many other things, the notion of just in case usually just ends up with our houses and our minds being overfilled and overcluttered. So I just wanted to talk to you about it today, to give you some food for thought and some things to think about when you're decluttering and you run into some of those just in case items. Because I don't want to say fully conquered like the notion of just in case, but I think had great success with switching some of my mindset around it, and I wanted to talk to you about that today. So number one is to understand, like I said, that it's like an intelligent evolutionary way to look at things. I think that some of us are doing this because we were also taught it by generations previous. You know, we're not too far off if you're in the United States. We're not too many generations removed from the Great Depression, and especially with all of the doomsday stuff happening in the news right now, it's very easy to adopt some of those methodologies and ideas and practices that were handed down from just a couple generations ago. You know, my grandparents lived through the Great Depression, handed on that mentality to my mom, who then tried to hand down that mentality to me of keep things for a rainy day. And I think, first of all, understanding where the mentality comes from can actually help a lot in becoming a little bit more removed from it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have anything for just in case. I have an entire emergency supply kit for like my basic needs as a human: food, water, shelter, entertainment, even though that's not technically a basic need. But I do have that sort of like set up. But beyond that, I think a lot of the just in case things that I've wanted to keep in the past, they weren't even for like emergency situations or survival. They were like for fantasy scenarios that never actually happened. Like, oh, I need to keep this dress for like when I travel to India because it's totally appropriate to wear to India, even though I have no ticket booked for this trip to India, but I need to keep this dress because it's similar to a kurta, which, if you don't know, is like, it's similar to a tunic, I guess, in Western fashion is the best way I would describe what a kurta is. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So first thing is understanding where the mindset might be coming from and forgiving yourself for kind of having these thoughts that might seem a little bit odd. The next thing that I like to think about when I'm thinking about like just in case is thinking about the notion of planned obsolescence. And this is a very unfortunate part of our society and a part of like capitalism. But way back in the day, you used to keep things because you could workshop them and repair them and fix them. So maybe a toaster broke and you kept the old toaster to be able to repair the new toaster, or you kept the old toaster to be able to repair that toaster, or you kept it for parts for a different project you were working on, or whatever it may be. And that, again, back in the day was like a very sound line of logic, and for a lot of people, they saved a lot of money that way, and they saved a lot of resources, and it was very eco-friendly. The problem is nowadays things are designed to break. And unfortunately, a lot of times maintaining these items is more expensive than just buying something new. Not all of the time. And you want to sort of strike a balance between buying things new and using things until they die. And, you know, whatever that balance will be different for each person's house. But it's unfortunate, but there's nothing you can really do about it right now with regards to planned obsolescence. And keeping all these kinds of things in your house that you can't actually workshop in a way that people used to be able to isn't helping anyone. It isn't actually helping the planet in any way, shape, or form, and it's just leaving clutter in your space that you then have to mentally deal with. So that's kind of another thing that I like to think about when I'm trying to get rid of things. What I will say that helps with the notion of planned obsolescence and just sort of feeling like overall wasteful, even though it's literally not your fault or my fault at all, is using things until their death or until they're used up as best you can. So that's number one. Number two is a lot of these tech items specifically, which are the sort of biggest contributor to planned obsolescence, can be recycled. Apple will take a lot of their products back and recycle them. Best Buy has an entire e-cycling program for all kinds of tech, cords. I think I even e-cycled my old GameCube with them. They'll kind of take everything. You know, so there are resources to get rid of these things a little bit more ethically than just throwing them in the garbage, but they don't need to live in your house. The other thing to keep in mind, kind of going back to learning this just in case mentality from our family members, we have access to so many more material goods at such a faster speed with so much more ease than any generation before, especially with the advent of websites like Amazon. We have access to the entire world's goods at the click of a button. And I think because of that, and because a lot of us, we learned to consume and to hold on to things, we've ended up with such a level of abundance that nobody in past generations could even really fathom, which is why that mentality of keeping things for just in case usually doesn't work out, because it's a mentality that hasn't adjusted to the timeline that we now live in. So what I try to say is, instead of keeping things just in case, try and be more conscious of a consumer. It is so easy to consume things nowadays, and it's so inexpensive in a lot of ways to consume things nowadays. So I think if you really want to do more good, instead of holding on to things that are not serving you in any way, shape, or form, stopping them at the point of purchase would probably be a more ideal thing for you or anybody else, you know? Another thing that I think about is what's called, I believe, the endowment effect. And it's this psychological notion where if something belongs to you, you perceive it having a higher value than it actually does. Something that I see a lot of this in like a real world example is fine china. Fine china is generally expensive, and it very much used to be something that was coveted by like any married couple. They would put it on their registry to pull it out during fancy events. Nowadays, fine china, although still, I believe, an expensive thing to cultivate, is not something that the average American values in the same way that they used to. And I see fine china at the thrift store all the time going for like $1 a plate. So the thing with value is things are only worth what people are willing to spend on it. And just because it's valuable, if it's not serving you, it doesn't really have any value. What I like to say is like, would I pay X amount for this, whatever you think it's worth, to bring it into my home now if it wasn't already sitting in front of me? And if the answer is no, it's usually something that I try to sell or donate in some way to get it out of my house. Because if the answer is no, that you're not willing to pay the perceived value that you have for the item, it's probably not an item worth keeping, even if it is for like just in case, you know, whatever. I also, here's a really, really good tip for just in case, now that my nails are close to done and drying, I'm gonna try and wrap up this video. But another really good thing to think about with just in case is doing like a maybe I'll need this type box. I think the Minimal Mom, who I just started watching, she just appeared in my YouTube feed very, very recently. I think she calls it the quarantine box. I can leave her channel link down below because if you like my content, you'll probably like hers. Anyway, it's basically like a box that you put in storage, so in your basement or in your garage, of all of these just in case items, and you put a date on the box. And I've talked about this and called it different things in videos past, especially with relation to like clothing in your closet. But if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And if you don't ever think, oh damn, I need X, Y, and Z item, and then go fish it out, that's probably a good litmus test to let you know that it's not an item that you actually needed to begin with. And then it's a lot easier to part ways with the item because it's not serving you. I always say for things that you're parting with that are difficult, try to make some of your money back by selling them. But if that's not realistic, whether because your life is too busy, or maybe you're disabled, or maybe you just have such like a large quantity of stuff that that's not possible, I would still say it's better to have your house serve you than to have all of these things just existing, taking up space, taking up mental space in your brain, real estate in your house. You know how it goes. So now that I've started rambling, I guess what I'm trying to say is there are things you can do to combat the just in case thinking, and the space in your house and in your mind are more than likely more valuable than the items that you're thinking that you need. So hopefully this video can help you switch some of your thinking and put some things into practice the next time that you're doing a declutter. Very casual video. Thanks for letting me get my nails done. And with all of that being said, please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in a couple days with another video that's likely less casual and more polished. So I'll see you soon.